I mean, I can talk about it if people want to hear
Okay.
about it.
Okay, we're recording.
Morning, let's commence the December 10, 2024 meeting of the Cuyahoga County Convention Facilities Development Corporation. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the special meeting in December. Julie, if you can please call the roll.
Debbie Berry. Here. Jeff Epstein. David Gilbert.
Here.
Majee McLeod.
Here.
Trevor McAleer. Michael Obie.
Here.
Tim Oftermatt.
Here.
Rashonda Smith. Mayor Sellers.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. At this point, I'll open it for any public comments. If we have any, Julie?
No, we do not. No
We do
public
not have
comment.
public comments. I want to welcome officially. I know all of you have had an opportunity, at least interact, if not meet personally, with Tim Meyer, our new executive director. So I want to officially welcome him and introduce him to everybody. And I'm going to turn it over for the executive director report.
Good morning. First of all, thank you all. It's a pleasure being here. Appreciate your support and making me the selection. I really look forward to representing you as a board and CCFDC accordingly as we've discussed. 30-day overview. I need to start by also thanking the teams here on ASM and Levy and more importantly, Julie for her patience and helping me do this transition over the last 4 to 6 weeks and really starting to learn the organization. Jeff Applebaum also has been a great asset to me to understand the legal obligations and financial obligations that have been set forth in our contract. First 30 days, I've spent a lot of time really focused on meeting the board, and as I want to make sure I understand the priorities of every individual in this organization to get that laid out. I'm almost done. I have a meeting next week with Michael where we'll meet and finally have our one-on-one, and that'll complete that circle. Spent a lot of time the first 30 days really focused on understanding the facility itself, meeting with Ron and Jude. We actually now have scheduled weekly one-on-one walkthroughs in the building, help me acclimate to the operation, understand the challenges there. And then working on the financials, understanding obligations with the county, and understanding obligations financially and legally for ASM and Levy. There's a lot of focus of the contractual obligations, as Jeff and I have spent a lot of time really working through those issues. Another big project I started in the last 30 days is really getting a grasp of the capital projects. We have a lot of projects that have been sitting out there for the last couple of years that we're trying to close out. In addition to the full renovation that was done and completing this punch list, they are on target to have a punch list completed by the end of this month and are hoping to close out that project on first quarter next year. So still some work to do there, and we're working through those challenges. I think one of the other issues that I really want to talk about specifically is really focusing on the financial clarity, to make sure the board is very clear on exactly what's been, where we are on the financials as they're reported to the board, and bringing that to board meetings so that everyone's aware of all new ideas and new challenges that are outstanding there. The next 30 days are really going to be a focus on continuing to complete the onboarding. Julie has put in your packet my onboarding outline that was provided. I'm about complete for the most part, but still have some other things that I need to work on, specifically meeting with Public Hall and understanding that operation and how it affects the convention center. The next thing I really want to get to in the next couple of months is really understanding the long-term strategic planning for ASM and Levy so that we're setting ourselves up for long-term success to continue to be an economic driver in the market and build relationships with hotels. I'm scheduling meetings with the area hotel general managers to understand how we can all work together to continue the drive to push downtown Cleveland. And then one other project that just came up, we finished the building audit that was done last month. So now that we have that information, we're going through that process to understand the priorities, where we need to prioritize funds, if there needs to be any committed to make any improvements there or correct any issues, and then prepare for the January board meeting, at which time Julie and I are working on somewhat of a new approach to board meeting and how we manage that process, deliver some new ideas for the board, and how the board meetings are managed. Quite honestly, I want to do a better job of managing the board function, committees, activities, and communications. One recommended that my recommendation that Majee presented was communication from a portal standpoint. So we're looking at developing a portal for the board where we can push information out, and you'll have one resource to go to. The other new ideas that we're really working on is looking at CCFDC's role in the selling process, working with Destination Cleveland, as we can bring clients to the boardroom, do presentations, so they understand the full support of the office and the organization to drive more business and help them close business. And then later on, get to planning for 2025, and I think a big project that's gonna come on later next year is how we manage the building for the holidays. Building should have holiday decorations up, it should be a center. Mayor Sellers and I talked specifically about that. We actually have a tree in the building. A little too late for me to take it on this year, but by next year, we want to have the building be part of the activities as it relates to downtown Cleveland's activity on Thanksgiving weekend with the tree lighting and build in that part of the building itself. So a lot of my plate, things that we're working on. I've talked to you all individually in one-on-ones. We'll continue that communication and continue to keep you updated on my onboarding and new ideas.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our executive director? Okay, with that, we'll turn into the capital expenditures and.
So just a brief overview of the capital expenditures. We have two big issues going on there. One, the bollard project. We have $1.3 million budgeted for that. We finished the St. Clair install of that project. The next stage of that's going to be on the lake side of the building. That'll start in the spring. So we're in the planning process of that. And we can get that part of it complete and off our plate, which will really bring it close to the largest budgeted capital item that's still outstanding. A couple of the other ones that are outstanding, we're working on, we're closing some of them out, specifically related to signage that was allotted. Some of those funds are not needed any longer, so we're going to be returning that into the capital fund. I met with Mike Chambers last week to talk about how we're managing that, and Jeff Applebaum and I have a meeting later on this week, talking about how those funds are being managed back and forth. Mike is also aware that we have a building audit, so we may have to look at how we allocate some of those funds for those projects. So too early to put any definitive direction on that at this point, just because I'm still working through it. The other thing that I'm working with ASM on is how we plan for long-term capital projects. Next year, we have $1.5 million, $1.3 million budgeted for lighting. I've asked them to revisit that project because we have to get the scope of work identified. We've got to bid it out. I don't think we're going to get started on that project in the middle of next year. So I may actually release some funds and we may just stagger that down for another year or two. And I'll open up some funds on the short term. So by the end of this month, I expect to have to you an update of the capital budget items as it pertains for the next 5 years.
Any questions on the capital expenditures? And that's just something that I always feel the need to emphasize, because it's something I've lived through even when I was law director. One of the things that happened with government buildings often is with budget crises that happen or things that happen, all of a sudden capital repairs and capital improvements tend to go on the back burner, and then you end up something that you could have resolved with a small solution ends up being a much bigger problem. We can't afford to do that with a hospitality center, so that's something we are always very focused on at the board and as watching the best management of the taxpayers for the county and for the citizens.
Agree, we'll retain that on the agenda.
And Jeff, I think, watched too much TV. If you have COVID, you take Paxlovid, and Paxlovid, I guess, gave him COVID again. He's gonna give us an update on the bird film issue.
Yeah, and you're right. I didn't, by the way, the study now says that if you're going to take Paxlovid, do not do it on the first day. Wait 40 hours. If you take Paxlovid the first day, like they used to tell you, you have a 25% chance of rebound. If you wait until the second day to take Paxlovid, you don't get the rebound. So I now know that for future COVID sufferers. We've had several reports on the bird safety film. I know I've talked to the board on a few occasions. We were authorized to proceed to investigate. We were authorized to issue the RFP. We did issue the RFP. We got several very good proposals. We took the best two proposals and we did interviews. And we did rankings, and Julie has the documents there if you want to see the rankings and if you want to see the interviews. But at the end of the day, we have a great proposal. We were very happy with a proposal from a firm called Midwest Glass Tinters, MGT. They are a company that originally is from Illinois, but they came and they have a presence in an office in Cleveland. And as a matter of fact, they are a certified with the county as an a WBE in good standing with the county. So it's a female-owned business. They were originally in the business of tinting safety glass for automobiles and merged and eventually got into the business of building tinting, and they've been a very good player in this area. So the proposal is all in labor and materials is $239,500. And there were four proposals that ranged between 233 and about 300. There was one that was a few $1,000s lower, but this one was deemed to be based on the interviews, based on their approach. They were deemed, and based on their experience, they were deemed to be the better value at 239,500. The concept now is that we will enter into, if you approve of this, and by the way, the board has already approved of the expenditure. The board has already approved of this, but we said we would come back to you for approval of this specific proposal. So we're looking for an authorization today to proceed to enter into a contract with MGT in the amount of $239,500. The approach is going to be that they will, as soon as weather permits, they will do a mock-up. And this is weather-dependent work, but hopefully sometime we'll have a break in the weather, perhaps in early January now. I'm not sure if, well, we'll see if they can still do it in December, but we'll do a mock-up of one of the towers, look at it for conformance. Keep in mind, this should be virtually invisible film, visible to birds, but not humans. Upon acceptance of that, they will manufacture the rest of the film to suit our needs. And then they will commence as soon as weather permits, probably beginning of March, end of February, beginning of March. The installation will take about 12 to 15 working days. And once again, this is 30 towers, 19,000 square feet of mirrored glass. They're going to do it with two-person crews, anticipating 2 towers per day, and completing or 2 towers per crew in 3 days. So that should get them 12 to 15 working days to be done. So what I would ask you for today would be someone at the board to move and approve of our being able to proceed with this contract.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion, any questions for Jeff now that the motion is on the floor?
Jeff, I have a question. Does this require city design review approval?
We already went to the city and shared with them the plan, and they were actually the ones who indicated they preferred this approach versus artwork because they wanted to keep it as natural as can be. So we actually went to the city with the concept.
Got it. Okay,
But-
thank you.
What does that mean? Did you go to the planning commission? Who's the city when you say you went?
We went to the landmarks.
Landmarks, okay, it was a public, okay, it was an item on the agenda.
Yeah.
All right, with that, it's been moved and seconded. Julie, do you want to call the roll?
Debbie Berry,
Yes.
Jeff Epstein, David Gilbert,
Yes.
Majid McLeod,
Yes.
Trevor McAleer, Michael Obi,
Yes.
Tim Oftermatt,
Yes.
Rashonda Smith, Mayor Sellers.
Yes.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to new business.
Just one further
Okay.
quick question, I apologize, it
Absolutely.
doesn't impact the vote, but you have been keeping county council in the loop, correct, Jeff? 'Cause
I,
know this was
I have,
concerns.
I have been keeping a particular member of county council in the loop, and I suspect that that member will want me to prepare something to give to her on this, but I haven't told her, I mean, obviously I have to tell her that today this was approved, but yeah, she's been in the loop the whole way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, also, just a quick question for on knowledge. How effective is this?
How effective is it?
Yes, and there are guarantees.
Well, I can send you the studies, but it is extremely effective. This is actually the latest technology, because what this does is the glass, the lines in the glass that the birds see. It's ultraviolet. They see it in their vision. We don't in ours, but I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's extremely effective. And I'll send that to everybody just with the study that explains its effectiveness.
Yeah, question. This is quite a, I think it should be commented on that. I think when we first started, this was about 700,000.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end up at 240.
Yep.
And I'm assuming that this is what I see at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse when I'm in the Caesar Book Club, walking up the steps.
This is exactly, yeah, this is the same product.
As a matter of fact, if I wasn't walking at an angle, I wouldn't have seen it right now. And so,
Right.
Right, so I think this addresses the concerns of county council folks and, addresses our budget, right? We're able to find the $240,000 without stabbing ourselves in the neck here, right? So I'm all in favor.
Is it possible to have the same people that did all the initial analysis and cataloging and identifying all the birds to do some post work on this? I mean, I feel like it would be in their best interest to
I don't think you're,
understand
I-
the birds.
Yes, it is. That's good.
yeah, I think they're going to do it regardless of whether we ask. I think they continue to monitor this, but we can
I'd
do
really
that.
like to get that data to really know how effective it is,
Mhm.
you know, over time.
Well, we should, because
Yeah.
the type of information you talk about cataloging, we should be able to transfer to other projects around other people that are doing public projects around here.
Right.
Because this is gonna come up again.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll have that conversation with Sunny Simon because I know she's interested looking at this in different places, and I'm sure I would imagine they're monitoring it at the arena. So I'll ask what's going on in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's a real life test of the technology, and it's a story for us to tell if it ends up being a success
Really
story.
positive.
Let's hope. All right, with that, we're gonna go to new business, and I know we have the Thompson Pine engagement on the, but Tim, do you have any items that you want to discuss, or can I go through them?
Go right ahead.
So, one of the issues that we've been working on is making sure that we have any contracts that need the board approval to come before the board in a timely fashion, hopefully. Obviously, we all know Jeff Applebaum and Thompson Hine has been serving as the board's legal counsel for quite a bit of time. Since the inception of the very first meeting was actually in the conference rooms of Thompson Hine of the board. Tim has worked with Jeff on the new relationship for the new year and the parameters and making sure that we have better clarity going forward, how we work with things. And then we have a new proposed engagement letter from Thompson Hine for a monthly fee of $8,000 for the continuing the regular work of the board. I think it was 7,500 last year, so it's an addition of $500 to this year. The things that I've worked with Tim on, and I think Tim is going to be very diligent going forward, is the clear delineation of what's included within this engagement and when there is additional work that we have clarity on it, we have pre-approvals on it. So we're working, through those issues, and Tim has been doing a great job with that, and Jeff, has also been doing a great job with this. Tim, anything else you'd like to say on this?
Just a couple of comments. Jeff's been a great asset to me in my transition. Number one, the historian, and there's a lot of data and information. It's been very helpful. Makes sense for us clearly to move forward through next year. Jeff and I have talked about some of the past challenges. And he and I have agreement already that all new projects will be outlined in a new engagement letter that will be brought to the board. To understand the scope of the project, so again, it will continue my march of transparency on all new expenses and things like that, so I highly recommend that we move forward.
Thank you. With that, do we have
I make a motion to approve the, new contract with Top of Nine, raising it from 7,500 to 8,000, which I think is a very reasonable, adjustment for legal services for this year.
I'll second.
moved and seconded? Any, discussion, any questions for Jeff or Tim or anybody? Hearing none, Julie, if you call the roll, please.
Debbie Berry,
Yes.
Jeff Epstein, David Gilbert,
Yes.
Najib McLeod,
Yes.
Trevor McAleer, Michael Obi,
Yes.
Tim Offermat,
yes,
Yes.
Thank you. And this is, again, for clarity, this goes from January 1, 2025 through the end of December 31st, 2025. There may be some issues over some of the work before in terms of, cleaning up after changes of executive directors. Those issues will be worked out and we'll bring them to the board's attention at the right time if they need any board action. The other issue I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, I've asked, was somebody trying to say something? The other issue I just wanted I've mentioned it before the board is, I would like to set up a board retreat at some point in the first quarter of 2025. I've raised that with Tim, and we'll working through it, and they'll be reaching out to schedule dates, but would like to, as much input as possible. My vision for this is really more of a board retreat than sort of an educational course to the board. So really, it's more of any members of the board that have any issues would really want to go in depth substance in terms of where we are, where we want to be, where the future, have a very substantive discussion. So we'll work on that and try to schedule it and try to make sure we get the dates to work. But I envision it more of a working session more than just sort of being presented with things of that nature. That's sort of the idea that I have at this point.
Do you see that as a half day, a full day, a week away together?
We are in the convention business.
Exactly. Just kidding.
No, we definitely need at least a full day,
Okay.
if not more, I think. But I've talked with Tim a little bit about this, and this is he's barely been on board for a month, but I wanted to talk through bigger issues in terms of, what's the vision 5 years down the road?
Mhm.
What's the vision 10 years down the road? What do we do to get to that vision? Where are we short? Where are we doing well that we can supplement? So I think we just sort of like to sort of think broader vision, big picture, and also certain issues that we need to implement. So it will take quite a bit of discussion where each board member sees the board, where you guys want things to be. So I think at least it'll take a day.
And are you gonna facilitate that, or would you envision bringing someone in to help, or Tim?
I haven't worked through any of that yet. I think
Okay.
it just
Okay.
Right now, we're talking dates. I
Yeah,
think that's
exactly.
gonna be one of the most complicated parts. to
Yeah,
it.
of course.
The plan will come together after that. To Majid's point, talking about a 5 and 10 year plan. most board members share that exact goal, as we're moving forward in this transition. And so, this will allow me some time between now and the end of January when we get to the next board meeting. So I envision this happening probably somewhere in February is what we're shooting for. But again, we'll look at the logistics of that. We're just starting the process.
Yeah, and even that's why I said first quarter. I didn't want to even
Yeah.
commit to January or February, because I think we need our executive director to be in place long enough for it. We don't want to meet for the purpose of a meeting, you know,
Of course.
so I think that's the idea is we want it to be substantive and productive, so we want to give our team the time to be ready for it and for everybody to vet it through. But I think we do need
Yeah.
that kind of a get together and
It might be helpful to have a facilitator. I do think it's still gonna be hard to get all of our time for even a full day, and so making sure that we're as efficient as possible and that everybody can participate. So just something to think ahead about.
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
No, you sure? Okay. All right. Well, just an idea, you know, I know you, I don't know if you were serious about somewhere outside Cleveland, but,
Exactly,
but in this business of, there's need for learning best practices. Is there any city that is nearby that is probably has something going on that we admire, that we may want to learn from, so that it becomes meaningful there? You know, I don't know, you all that are in the industry, I don't want to name a city, but there are cities that we really think they're hitting all the cylinders, or most of the cylinders, that we could learn from, they could host us. You know, most of them are glad, will be glad, and even it would be a compliment to them to kind of learn from. Any thoughts around that?
Clarifying thoughts. So, you know, there's, and I'm gonna call on John here.
Call
to-
We're gonna go back and forth.
Yeah, you know, you look at a couple of things and what does the board want to see and experience? You look at our competitive set, which actually we manage a lot of. So that's can be done easily. Also, what comes to my mind is locations which, so you start off with a Venn diagram, you start getting smaller, right? Locations that have a similar setup with an authority setup that we have, and those relationships, and you know, that can be Columbus, that could be Pittsburgh.
Too.
Yeah, that are nearby, that I think are similar in scope to what we do, compete against us in what we do, and have a similar structure. They also both happen to be leading convention centers. Now, you might also want to let's do something entirely different. That could be what you want to do, but I just thought I would offer that up for thought.
understood, and that, all of it will be taken. No, I like the idea, sort of the logistics and finding the right location and things of how we do it. I mean, when you said that, the first example that came to mind, but again, it's very different, is Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But again, they're connected to the, you know, Lucas Stadium. It's just, whether it's a useful experience or not, I don't know, but it's just something to think about. So all of that will be, and that's why I emphasize, we still have another meeting in January, and this is after that. I just wanted to make sure that it's on the board's radar. If anybody has any ideas, if anything, please share them with us, any thoughts, so that we plan it the right way. Hopefully February, I'm not even opposed to March if we need to go that far out. I'm less concerned about the timing than the substance and what we get out of it. And I think that's in my mind. I want to do it the right way and then have it be useful for everybody. Yes, sir.
Well,
I have one suggestion, and it may be before we do the retreat. I know you said the idea isn't to do a 101, but I would say, I don't think any of us have ever really had when we, like, a real onboarding. And I think what we do as an organization, as a center, there's a lot of nuance to it, a lot of nuance in our relationship with the county, and the city and others, the relationship with organizations like Destination Cleveland and others, what our KPIs, maybe R should be, and I know those are things, some of those things we want to get into, I would imagine, on a retreat. I think it would be really helpful, whether it's the first part of the retreat, or if not, to do before, a little bit, I just think for the whole board, getting a little bit of a 101 of the industry and how the center operates. Because the other thing I would say is, I'm all for going somewhere else, and I think those two examples of Columbus and Pittsburgh in my mind are probably the two best ones. But even with those, they're those communities operate. We just have to know, it's really important to understand our community nuances that are very different than theirs. So it's important not to go and say, we should be just like Columbus, they should be just like us, we should be just like, because some of those, there's decades of history and how the politics work. And so I think having us get a real understanding will actually make the rest of the time far more productive with
Maybe that could be baked in as part of the learning.
I would suggest that, first, that, I like the suggestion. I would suggest that let Tim be on here for 100 days and get a feel for how this works, what he sees. Right? And then to Ron's point, when I think of it, I'm not limiting myself to Columbus and Pittsburgh just because they're conveniently close. It's not going to who's getting it done, right? We have a real opportunity here. And I would just say part of the issue is that, to your point about the onboarding, I'm not sure that we really understand what our real capabilities are. And we may stay in a position where we just looking for incremental growth because we're afraid of getting outside the boundaries. We're unsure of ourselves. Okay, you send me to Phoenix or whoever is getting it done here, because this place is connected to so many different, the county, the city, indirectly connected to all these people, right? And where are we taking this thing 5 to 10 years from now? You're setting the format for people that won't be at this board table at that point, right? I look out the window here, we look into the left over here, we know what's out there, right? We should be connecting on a bunch of things here. I was telling Dave, I said, you got the Cleveland Charge playing across the parking lot. And if Dave Gilbert has his way, the WNBA will be over there too, right? So you got a bunch of things going on here, and we should be advocates for things happening here, right? I think that's the charge of this group too, from the outside thinking where the opportunities at. So take this group to a place where people are seen to be unencumbered by the existing conditions and are just flat out getting it done, right? Because you're trying to spark ideas here of what we can do. I could always run down to Columbus.
No, I agree. Actually, as everybody's going through this, I'm thinking something for the January meeting, not even going into any of the stuff that everybody's talking about here. Something much more mundane and has every one of our board member been throughout this facility, like just the physical space? Do our board members know the entire physical space?
I don't know the answer, but I would suggest that, I didn't talk about it earlier, but Julie and I are already working on a new onboarding process for new board members. We gave some IDs out right now, but what will start happening as new board members come on, that we will schedule that time. We'll schedule as much time as I can get them in the building. We'll plan a luncheon like we would do a sales site, so they see our capabilities, walk the building, talk about all those issues, so they start understanding it. David and I talked about full education of what business are we in at times. It can get distorted through all of the meetings, and starting to use some of the meetings to really push that information. That's part of our January agenda now, and we want to talk about some of those business issues that we're facing and a little bit about the education, right? But we could in January also open the door to say,
let's take the first half hour, walk the building.
Or even make it available after the meeting for board members. I just think if, in my mind, if you're sitting on the board of running this facility, I mean, should know the facility. And
Right.
we just presume that everybody knows it, but I don't know that. I mean, I learned something the other day that I had no idea happens here, but the fact that we prepare, we take the food, the organic byproduct, and we turn it into slurry that goes into an anaerobic digester. I don't know how many people on the board have an idea that that happens in this facility. Just stuff like that we just don't even know that exists here.
It's a fascinating building to see it behind the scenes.
That's,
And we will definitely make every opportunity to educate everyone and show them, to make sure that we'll do that in January.
Tim, I would just, if we do it, ideally try to do it when we've got a show in the building, so
Right.
people can see it really in action, when the floor is full and you get an idea of what this building's for.
Right.
yeah.
Tim, you-
Feel the energy.
let me ask you a question. Did you, because this facility does so much, has the potential to do so much for so many people. In the month of December, how many events are we having?
We're somewhere around, what, 20 total? Not that they're all big.
In just December?
Yeah,
I mean, we've got, we did the, Nike volleyball last weekend, pickleball coming up this weekend, Metro Health, Christmas party this weekend. We did the Art League lunch, and then we have 3 or 4 more small ones. December's always our slowest month.
So
but
December you have,
We- we still got-
maybe I asked it the wrong way. How many open dates you have here?
a lot in
Oh,
December.
yeah,
In
once,
December.
yeah, once we get to the last 2
Right,
weeks. it's
we
great.
should be doing, I like, here, this should be a place that can, because this is a community piece here too.
Absolutely.
We should be hosting the biggest seasonal holiday party for the underprivileged here. Like nobody's business here. You should be inviting, we should be inviting the kids, their families from different organizations. Cause there's a community good here that I don't want us to lose here. Everything is not about, you got open dates here, just say, we're paying for it anyway,
Mhm.
right? Whether it's used or not,
No, it always,
toys for kids, whoever we are partnering with, should be right here.
we're a public facility, but I can tell you, I mean, it's no secret. I worked with Cedar Point on building the sports center there. And part of what we did was, and as a company, they were concerned about how do we keep the building active during days when you didn't have tournaments and, and action. So even the private sector, when they're running, they're always thinking of how do we keep the building active when we don't have activities and open it to the community. So absolutely. With that, I don't want to keep everybody late. We're past, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Now I'm-